What's up, beautiful people? Thank you for visiting my channel. Today, I want to talk about cellular nutrition. What is it and why does it matter? In my opinion, cellular nutrition is the evolution of how we address nutrition at its most fundamental form. All right, it is feeding the cells what it needs to function optimally. Now, you would think that most of the diets out there are also geared at that, but they're really not. And here's the significant difference between what cellular nutrition represents and things like keto and vegan and paleo and all these different diets that are out there, is that cellular nutrition is focusing on what the body needs, okay, how the body responds to its environment. Whereas these other diets, these other fad diets, are geared towards a specific result, okay. But when the result is coming from a system that is outside of the body, it's always going to be going a bad direction. Let's take, for example, keto, right? So we have two fundamental energetic processing systems in our body. One that processes sugars, one that processes fats. All right, our body to function optimally requires them both to be balanced. So when we take some time and we cut up carbs and sugar, we will lose a bunch of water weight at first, right? And that instant gratification, it feels good, okay? But after a while, the glycogen processing energetic system in the body becomes depleted, and that's when we start to really crave stuff, right? So after a while, and I've seen it so many times, like you stay too strict to it, and then, the gallbladder and the liver start to get really stressed, right? And then the body can't process everything. Generally speaking, people take in too much protein when they're doing this kind of diet. And when the glycogen stores are constantly depleted, then the body cannot produce energy efficiently, and it has to start to compensate. Compensate with micronutrients. So then these micronutrients will begin to deplete, and we don't know exactly how much of what is being depleted or not. So we take supplements, and then we're taking too much of the wrong stuff, and then we're further exacerbating the imbalance, okay? Because we're not identifying the right circumstances, foods, supplements, nutrients that the body needs to function at an optimal level. Okay, I've seen so many vegans. I've done microscopy on a couple hundred different vegans. They're almost always depleted in vitamin B12 and iron, right? And their nitrogen, their nitrogen saturation is usually negative. All right, we want our nitrogen to be positive, which requires consistent protein intake, but we don't want it to be too much, because then it'll clog up the small intestines and the lymphatic system because the proteins don't fully dissolve, right? Also, we have to incorporate the emotional aspect, because the number one thing that affects hydrochloric acid secretion level in the stomach, which is responsible for the breakdown of all the nutrients in the stomach, is fear, worry, anxiety, depression. It actually inhibits the secretion. So especially if you walk around all day with like a cotton mouth, all right, that means that your body is craving to create saliva, and in that saliva are digestive enzymes, right? These things all play a big role in how the body works. And usually it's the people after, like, they've tried every single diet out there and they swear that nothing works, the body ends up usually becoming resistant and toxic. So then we have to clear out those toxins. The gut microbiome gets completely thrown out of whack. Okay, and then that's when people discover cellular nutrition, and they find they learn to listen to their body. The body is a subconscious mind. Okay, it's always talking to us. We all have the ability to see it, to hear it, to feel it, but many of us, we ignore it, right? Why do we ignore it? Because we need to stay motivated. We have responsibilities. We have a structure in our life that we need to stick to, right? But the problem is we're in a society where we're taught to neglect ourselves in that way. And when we neglect ourselves, then it's stress upon stress, and then stress creates inflammation, and then that inflammation gets out of balance, and then we start having injuries and problems. And the older we get, the more that we hold on to, especially emotionally, right? So cleansing, detoxing is a critical aspect of clearing out the body. So, I always recommend my clients that before they start a nutrition program with me, that they do a cleanse and a detox. You got to clean the pipes out, right? Once you clean the pipes out, then all the nutrients are much more absorbable and available. And then we start with identifying what the DNA requires for optimal functioning. Get the microbiome tested to see what the microbiome needs for optimal processing utilization. We have over 2 trillion types of bacteria in our gut. We are made of bacteria. Our mitochondria is bacteria. So we have to feed it the right kind of bacteria, all right? So, this whole spaghetti method of just throwing things against a wall and hoping something stick, it always lasts for a little while, but it's never permanent, okay? That's why we need to address the most fundamental aspects of our cellular functioning. And we do that through microscopy. There are other functional medicine specialists out there that do other similar things, but this is essentially epigenetics. So we can go back to, why is this even going on? Why is there so much misinformation or bad information out there about, well, everything, but really nutrition and the entire medical industry? I'll tell you why. Because way back in the day, there was a huge debate, okay, about how microbes worked in the body. Initially, the germ theory was created, and that stated that bacteria is monomorphic in nature, meaning they do not change. Okay, so since they do not change, we have to force them or manipulate them to change through antibiotics, through prescriptions, through things like that, or supplements even. Okay, we now know through the study of epigenetics that bacteria in the gut, in the body, in the brain is pleomorphic in nature, which means that they're adaptable. They change to accommodate their environment. All right, so we have to focus on the terrain of the body, what's going on inside, as an integrated, holistic aspect. Because if we don't, then we're missing something. And that's the problem with the medical industry today, is that they only look at compartmentalized versions of the body. You have all these different ISTs out there, optometrists, cardiologists, rheumatologists. They all focus on one specific aspect of the body, but none of them know about nutrition. And none of them know about actually how they interact with each other. That's what functional medicine is. It's how all these different systems interact with each other. And when we look at the body like that, we can reverse anything. And this also identifies disease as a made-up shit. It's made up. All right? There's no such thing as disease. It's a fear tactic. Okay? There's only such thing as imbalance. And when our body is out of balance, they try to convince you that you need this pill, you need this drug, you need this antidepressant to balance you out. But that just throws you more out of balance, and it keeps you sick, and it keeps them making money. All right? You need to focus on feeding yourself what your body, what your cells are craving. In order to do that, you have to be tuned in. You have to be honest with yourself, because emotionally and energetically and physically, it's all connected. All right? I had a bacterial or parasite infestation called blastocytosis. And those bacteria, they were in my consciousness. They were the fear-based thoughts that I had, everything. When I cleared out my gut, I found that all the emotional instability feeling in my mind went away, poof, just like that. And you talk to anybody else that's gone through the process, and they'll tell you the same thing, right? Because the body, we're human beings. We all have the same DNA. Right? And we want to open up that DNA and expand and live our best life. We don't want to get stuck in this process, this pattern of disease. And the whole process plays in our belief systems, right? Because let's say, for example, someone gets diagnosed with cancer, all right? Now, oh fuck, I'm going to die. Oh my God. Now everything in their life revolves around trying to address that cancer, and all your focus is on fixing the cancer. The cancer doesn't need to be fixed. It's a protective mechanism because you're out of balance. And it is balanceable out. It's actually very simple. But you have to also face the things within yourself, because at the very core, there's an emotional aspect. You're ignoring something. You're denying yourself something. And you need to address that in order to be able to balance yourself out. Because once you balance yourself emotionally, and it'll affect the physical. You balance yourself physically, it'll affect the emotional. So it has to come from both directions. All right, so the cellular nutrition, it's emotional nutrition. It's spiritual nutrition. It's physical nutrition. To be balanced. And when you're balanced, you're firing all cylinders, you feel good, and whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, you're going to kill it, because now you're in alignment, right? It's like tuning up a piano. If the piano's off tune, all the music's going to sound off. But once you tune everything up nice and nice and tight and you're tuned within yourself energetically, boom, go, baby. You got this. So I want to encourage you all, do some research on epigenetics. Do some research on germ theory, on pleomorphism. Look at all this stuff. This is the new type of nutrition, whether you're a competitive athlete or a professional football player or a nurse or, even homeless on the street. It doesn't matter because we're all human beings. Okay, so I hope that sheds some light on what exactly this whole cellular nutrition thing is. If you have any questions or comments, please put them down below. And if you would like a coaching or an astrology session, go to my website, trinityfitnessastrology.com, and check me out on Instagram at spiritual_bodybuilder. All right. Till next time. Peace, my friends.